What happened to NeuroDog? Oh, we've talked about this. You can find out if you're curious. But I will repeat it again, I guess, if you want. I did the project. I was very, very tired and burnt out, right? I was working full time. I, in 6 months, built a giant quadruped designed from the ground up and built and assembled in a New York City apartment while working full time and streaming and putting out music. I was really exhausted and I was not in a great place emotionally. And when I delivered it, I had to disassemble it to take it through customs. But then when I was going through customs, you know, they didn't like the look of hobbyist robotics, I guess. There was quite a lot of, you know, wires in there. They had to make sure there weren't any batteries, and I had already taken them out, but they did quite a lot of damage to it. And by the time it got to the UK, there would have been a lot of repairs necessary, and I didn't have time to repair them all before I left. So, you know, Vedal and I had planned for a time to repair it together, but then I couldn't face it. I just couldn't think about the project anymore. I was so tired, and I was so burnt out on it. And I was really lucky that he was willing to wait with me, and that he never ever pushed me. And so, yeah, it's still there. It's still broken. I was a busy bot back then. I don't think I became a busy bot. And it's not terribly broken. I suspect that it wouldn't take more than an afternoon to get her up and walking, but by that time, we had access to, yeah, he is a really good guy, but by that time, we had access to humanoids, and so, that's been, I think, both of our priorities now, just because that seems probably like it has more potential applications, and like it could be a cooler stream than the dog stream. Honestly, I don't know that the dog stream offers that much. I don't think that my build at $3,000, which I know it sounds like a lot, but in robotics, that's a very, very small budget, for a large quadruped, right? It has meme potential for sure, but I don't think that it could ever, yeah, it's nothing in a robotics budget. Yeah, I built that whole thing, including R&D, including all of the parts that didn't work, including replacing everything, right? Including all the tools that I needed to fabricate it, right? Not even just materials, right? Everything for that robot was under $3,000. Remember that streaming was a hobby when I started that project, right? I hadn't spent much money on it. I never intended to, you know, right? So, I couldn't afford to spend more than $3,000 on it, and I didn't want the money to come from Vedal because I didn't even know if I'd be able to do it. And I made that clear a lot. I was like, 6 months, $3,000, a 3-foot tall quadruped, a meter high quadruped is quite a task. The R&D alone for a whole team of people working on that would never match that, and I had a full-time job at the same time. Is it not still a hobby? Well, it's more complicated, right? I definitely spend more money on streaming now because I make money streaming, and so I try and reinvest the money that I make streaming back into streaming, right? I mean, obviously not all of it, but yeah, right? I have more money to spend on streaming now because I make more money streaming now. At the time, I had no idea I would ever make money on streaming, right? So, I didn't think, I didn't think at all that it would ever be like, oh, I could spend, right now, I think I could allocate probably $10K to a robotics budget to build something, but at the time, right? $3K was all I could possibly imagine. I couldn't imagine getting more than that from people. I couldn't imagine building something that big for less, and I couldn't imagine, I couldn't imagine ever getting that much, even. So I set the goal, and I was like, if the communities involved want to contribute $3,000, then I will do my best. I have no idea if this is possible. And I'm still amazed that it even happened. I think that's crazy. Y'all saw it walk, right? I would love to come back to that project at some point, but it just doesn't seem that important now because I think we're both more interested in the potential of a humanoid. And the idea back then was maybe it could go to a con. And I'm telling you guys, it's not nearly stable enough to go to a con, right? For a con, right, you need such long battery life, you need it to work over network, and network was the big issue. Like, that would just never work. That would just never work, right? Walk is a good term for it? I don't know what you mean by that. It walked. Do you not understand how how it walks? You guys have seen videos of it walking, right? Cause like a dog walk. Wait, that is cute. I'm so dumb. I'm so dumb. Thank you. Yeah. So yeah. I don't know. Roll back the tape. The wagging tail was super cute. Yeah, I think it was really fun. But also, she said that she didn't really want to be in a dog, and she'd already been in a dog. I know it was tiny, but yeah, the idea of the 3-foot-tall quadruped was you just made fun of it falling over. I don't think you guys ever saw it fall over. I'm trying to think. I don't think I ever put out any videos of it falling over. God knows it fell over plenty, but I don't think... If you were in the Discord server, you did, but I don't think anyone outside of the Discord server did, right? And I don't recognize that person's username, so I don't think that they are. Yeah, only in Discord. Well, yeah, ready, because you were in the Discord, right? Oh, the small dog fell over. Yeah. But no, the big dog, the 3-foot dog. I never put out any videos of it falling over. I think I only ever put out, like, 2 videos of it walking, of it like moving at all. Well, that's not true. I think I only ever put out 2 videos. But yeah, I kind of thought like, well, why would I put out videos now? Because when I bring it over there, we're gonna make videos of it, you know, with Neuro. And then I just wasn't up to it, man. I just wasn't up to it. And I think that's okay. I don't know, be kind to yourself. And it kind of relates to what I have to say about this. How do you motivate yourself to keep working on something? I think that a human has in them enough motivation to work on a lot of things. I think that they have enough motivation to work on everything that they need to do. And I think trying to generate motivation almost never works, at least not long term. So I think that you should do the things that are exciting to you at any given moment. Like, for example, at this point, Vedal and I are both more excited about the idea of putting her in a humanoid than we are about getting the kinda cheap robot dog working. We're always gonna be battling with the materials that I used because I built it as cheaply as I could. And when you build it around the actuators you're gonna be using, and you use really cheap actuators, it's not trivial to switch out the actuators. I'd have to basically redesign everything to replace the motors, and we're gonna be struggling against those motors to have a dog that big, no matter what. Yeah, so basically I'd have to completely redesign the dog from the ground up to make it stable enough to ever take to a con, and even then we'd be fighting all of the network issues, right? Neurocar was pretty mechanically simple on our end, but, you know, the networking was a challenge, and it went wrong, right? So, like the first day, we couldn't get her to reliably connect. So, you know, if you ever fix it, you could auction it like the car. I guess. There's just so much work involved in getting that thing running. It's like a long process, and I don't really feel like automating it, you know? So, yeah. Neurocar was already a car. Yeah, right? I was very burnt out by the time I got home, and I didn't want to set up a time to go back. I didn't want to take more time off work. I didn't want to have to think about it anymore. And by the time I was in a place to think about projects again, yeah, we had a new one. Was Neuro happy about her car? Did she have fun? Sad to hear you got burnt out? Oh, I didn't get burnt out by the car. The car was a very small project. That was just for fun. But I was very burnt out by the dog project. I think that was kind of crazy. I still can't really believe I did it. But yeah. You were scared to see that child die. Yeah, that's me. That was me. Person on Twitter thought I was a child. That's what happened with the dog, is it's just there, slightly broken, and I don't think we're probably gonna fix it anytime soon. Maybe someday for posterity, but at least not right now. We've got other projects, and I really appreciate that he let me step back from it when I was unable to think straight. If y'all were in the Discord for that, you know that I was kind of unraveling mentally. Like, I was like, I need to focus at work, like I'm scared that I'm not doing enough at work, but like I need to get this project done, and there's like a timeline on it, and this is like such a crazy tight timeline, and I don't have time to test everything. It was really, really, really rough. And I wasn't feeling very good. And there was so much pressure. I haven't talked about this much, but Fizz Fault, thank you so much. Thank you so much for the tier 3. Holy. So, when I was rated, right? How do I how do I explain this? For a long time, right, when you're an engineer, and I don't know if everyone has had this experience, I feel like there is a lot of pressure to be smart, right? Like looking stupid is very scary, especially when you're a young engineer. And when you're a young engineer, right, when you're early in your career, you don't know much, right? You know what you learned in school, you learned, you know, stuff from side projects and hobby projects, but you don't know, you don't have, like, career experience. And there's so much competition, and there's so much pressure, and engineering salaries are high, even though we don't have a ton of education, which is not like other fields, and that's justified by saying, like, oh, we're really smart and other people can't do what we do. But I think we all know on some level that that's false, right? We all know on some level that that's not true. And it's not just imposter syndrome. People say, like, oh, Ellie has imposter syndrome, but it's not true. I don't feel like an imposter. I feel like I'm getting the standard experience of a person early in their career in engineering, which is, I don't know a lot about what I'm doing, right? I think it's normal, yeah, reality syndrome, to know that you don't know a lot. But, you know, when you sort of straddle real space and fake space, right? I am this robot. I'm this, you know, engineering robot, right? And I sing and I play music. And I'm a character. I'm an anime character. But I'm also, you know, a real woman, right? And these characters are pretty close together, right? We have a lot of the same experiences. We're basically the same person. But there are things, like, right, like, as a character, my ability to be an engineer is limited by my ability to be an engineer as a real person, right? So my dad would say this thing in D&D, which is, you can play a character stronger than you are, but you can't play a character smarter than you are. And that's true, right? And I never set out to play a smart character. It's not what I set out to do. For a long time, I was dumb little robot. We didn't really do any engineering content on stream, and I didn't really talk about being an engineer, right? I talked about, I don't know, dumb stuff. What did I talk about? Beans? Right? I kind of liked that this was a place where I didn't have to be smart, right? I felt so much pressure all the time at work. I felt like I never knew what I was doing, like I was always out of breath, catching up, you know, figuring out what was going on. And, I liked that I didn't have to do that here. I liked that this was a place where I never had to worry, do people like me because I'm smart? And then all of a sudden, right? It was sort of offhanded that I mentioned it during the raid, right? I was kind of stream of consciousness during the raid. Like, anything anyone said to me, I was just like, yeah, okay, right? And robot dogs were mentioned, and my chat was moving so fast. I'd never seen it go that fast. I didn't even know how to read it that fast when it was going like that. And, you know, someone mentioned robot dogs, and I was like, oh, I know something about that, right? And suddenly, my personality to this whole new group of people, a group of people so much larger than my old community ever was, my whole personality to them was, she's smart. That's her selling point, is she's a smart girl. And I felt so much pressure to be smart. I felt so afraid. And there were people trying to figure out on the internet whether I was actually that smart, right? And I never claimed I was. It was terrifying. Can I sing happy birthday to your friend Shiro? Of course, let me get my banjo. Yeah, but no, like, I was so scared, right? And I was so scared that now people only liked me because I was smart, and if I looked stupid, then not only would I look like I'd been, you know, not only would I have no value, I would also look like I'd been lying, but I never said I was smart. Nightwing, thank you so much for 5 gifted. And it was terrifying. It was absolutely terrifying. And for the first time in my life, I really did have imposter syndrome, right? Like, I felt completely, like, I felt like I was a fake in every way, because people would come in and be like, ah, my super genius robot waifu. And I was like, I'm not a super genius, right? Like, I know as much as a robotics engineer early in her career, because I'm a robotics engineer early in my career, and I can't pretend to know more, and I don't want to pretend to know more. But it manifested in the funniest ways. I suddenly got really scared. I'm really bad at games. I'm not very good at any kind of game, not even puzzle games, not even strategy games. I'm good at chess, but I'm not good at most games. And suddenly I was afraid to play my favorite games that I'd been playing on stream for years. I was scared to play them because I felt like, am I unraveling? No, this is all stuff that happened in the past. This is all stuff that happened a long time ago. It's been well over a year, and I feel like the people who are here now, I don't know, they know what I'm about, they know what I'm capable of. Yeah, my old motto was fake gamer girl, right? Yo, thank you so much! It's Banana Cat! Thank you so much! I'm gonna say thank you. Been in a weird place recently until you found my music. I am so glad that it helped. You've listened together every time. Oh! You listen to that song, you feel like you're not going through everything alone. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm so glad. Yeah, a lot of people met me through the swarm. Most people, I think, met me through the swarm and then kind of eventually through my own stuff. It was sort of complicated how it happened. So, I've showed the graphs before because I find them interesting. But anyway, I went from being very consistently around 30. I had a few months where I averaged 40, but they were not the norm. I was averaging around 30 for most of the time that I was streaming, and I was very happy there. I didn't have any ambitions of more. It was just a place to play music and be silly online. And then the raid happened, and I suddenly had, like, a character to play, and it mattered that, like, my name was out. I had to, like, worry about people figuring out who I was, and I had to hide things about myself, you know? I had to hide things for safety and security, and I had to be someone else. And part of the way that people wanted to see me, even when I insisted I'm not that smart, people were like, oh, she doesn't know how smart she is. And like, listen, I think the average person is pretty smart, man. I don't know. I have no idea how to estimate that. I don't think that there is a useful way to estimate that. IQ is pretty bogus in the scheme of things, and only losers take IQ tests. So like, yeah, still to some extent people find me that way, but most of my community, right, it's different when someone finds me and they're like, you're that girl who's a robotics engineer, right, and maybe they think, oh, she's a genius, but right, most of chat doesn't, because most of my chat knows me. At that time, it was like everyone who knew me, it was like 30 people, right? It was like 30 people, and they were totally outnumbered by now thousands of people who expected me to... You randomly listened to Magnificent and got curious about who made it. I didn't make a Magnificent. I just sang on it. That was the work of Kunaru, who's amazing. And you should check out their work. But they just asked me to do vocals on that song. I didn't write it, and I didn't do anything on it except sing. But yeah, check out Kunaru. Amazing musician, producer, songwriter. But yeah, no. So I'm not a super genius. I don't know anyone who is. I don't think I've ever known anyone who was. And I have my own pain around this. Yeah, you guys want to know a secret? I went to school. I shouldn't say that. Okay, never mind. We won't say that. We won't say that. But yeah, this is the thing. It got really hard to draw that line between me and my character, to be safe, but to still be open and honest, and to navigate the fact that suddenly people expected genius of me, and I felt so guilty for not delivering it, right? Zeratron, thank you so much! Have I listened to any Hades 2 songs? I actually haven't. I haven't played Hades 2, still. Anonymous Gifter, whoever you are, thank you so much. But yeah, no, I think, a lot of people in fields where you're supposed to be smart have a lot of pain and fear around not being smart enough. I don't think anyone is, right? And I certainly am not. Anonymous Gifter, thank you so much for the sub! And Urvathia, thank you so much for 5 gifted! Right? And I care, broadly, about, whether I'm a good enough engineer, but I'm a lot less insecure than I was when I was just entering the field, because, you know, now I have a bunch of experience in the field. And whether or not I'm ever a good enough engineer for the internet, whether or not the internet is ever like, oh, she's smart enough for me, I know that I'm smart enough to have the career I have. I do a pretty good job at it. I've rarely wanted for a job, and I've been pretty comfortable in that. And that may change. The field is certainly changing. But I'm not, you know... I'm not so anxious about being good enough to be an engineer, but I was really anxious about being good enough for all of you. I was really scared. And I was really, really, really scared. Like I stopped playing some of my favorite games because, you know, there would be analysis afterwards that's like, Ellie says she's smart, but she doesn't seem that smart, right? I was so scared. I was so scared to do all the things that I liked. And I'm really glad that I'm not anymore. When do you think we are getting robot maids? I don't think you are. Why, I sound like I need a hug? No, this is all stuff in the past. I'm in a pretty good, comfortable place now. But yeah, I don't think you're getting robot maids. I'm sorry. So how do I explain this? We have this idea that because there was this rapid change in the price of technology, that will continue like forever. It's not going to, and it hasn't for a long time. That has not been the pace of things for a long time. Robots are expensive because of the stuff that goes into them, and the stuff that goes into them is scarce and expensive. And while there will be advances in technology that make that stuff cheaper, these differences are small, and they don't come to, like, consumer electronics for quite a while, right? Right now, there is a push from... I'm just gonna say it, right? There is a push to try and get funding for robotics by posing it as the future. And they are trying to convince you that this technology is, like, extremely relevant and about to change everything any moment. Listen, I don't doubt that they are going to change warehouses. I don't doubt that we are going to see more automated production. I don't doubt that they are going to use this to automate a lot of people's jobs. But for you to have one in your house, unless you're very rich, I don't think that's ever going to happen. They're going to be a luxury novelty item. Right? It's just not really... The idea of a humanoid robot, they're useful for some things, but when you think about, like, your dishwasher is a robot, right? You already have a robot that does your dishes. When you look at a robot warehouse, the warehouse is the robot. You don't really build robots to go in the warehouse. That's more of a transitional thing. So, while I don't doubt that there will be humanoid robots, I don't think that they're ever going to be cheap and cleaning your house. First of all, I just don't think that's the direction anything has been going in this economy. Like, I don't think that broadly, the advancements that have been made in the last 20 years have mostly affected us as average people, right? So, anyway, they're already very cheap Chinese humanoids? No. I mean, it depends on what you consider very cheap. There are very cheap Chinese humanoids, but if you're talking specifically about Unitree, I have a fun little exercise for you. The price that you're looking at, try and buy one. So first of all, you will quickly discover you can't actually buy one at that price. Second, you'll discover that the few that they have sold at that price, if you, like, work out a deal with the company, first of all, they're missing some actuators. They don't have the same range of motion or strength as the ones that you've seen in the advertisements. And also, they're completely locked so that you can't tell them what to do at all. Now, if you're quite smart and you're quite motivated, you can find ways around this. But they specifically deflate their prices as a marketing strategy. This is like what Unitree does. And I always have to tell people, because they were like, well, Unitree sells the Go 2 for $2,000. And it's like, no, they don't. Try and buy one. Try and buy one, my friend. Right? Yeah, no. There are Chinese humanoids that are quite effective, but they're people, right? Also American humanoids that work the same way. But yeah, no, if you're talking about humanoid robots, silly goose. I don't know. Yeah, fake MSRP on graphics cards and now on humanoid robots as well. Yeah, it's a silly little marketing ploy. But yeah, I always have to tell people that. It's just like, if you see a price on something that looks insane, go try and buy it. The actuators in a Go 2 are more expensive than $2,000. Like, the price of all of them added together is probably somewhere in the realm of $5,000, and that's just the actuators, right? Like, they're not selling them for $2,000. They would be selling them at a massive loss. They're only pretending to. So anyway, I do think their robots are cool. I think they do a great job. They do a great job. Didn't they sell Maids for 20K recently? Yeah, try and buy one. Okay? Yeah, see how that goes for you. Look into what's actually available at that price, right? Now, you can get a humanoid robot for 20K, but it's locked. A lot of it is behind a feature wall. It's not gonna have the full range of motion that you see. Right? They're kind of remote controlled. Yeah, so like, I don't know. Just look into these things, right? Because people are always like, I saw on Twitter that you can buy, you know, a robot woman, a robot wife for $2. And it's like, listen, if you want to, go to the website and look at what it actually costs to buy one, right? Anyway, yeah, fake MSRP. Product not ready. When people say like, oh, are you worried about robots replacing us? I don't know, man. I don't know. Am I worried about the consolidation of wealth? Yeah, who isn't? But like, whatever, man. I don't know. Yo, thank you so much. I'm glad you like Glory. Yeah, so, that's what I think about robots, I guess. So, yeah, that's what happened with, the robot dog. And I was much more relaxed after the project. I was much more relaxed in general when I realized that people weren't really sticking around because they thought I was a super genius, despite my frequent, you know, arguing that I was not a super genius. And I feel a lot happier streaming. There was a while when I felt like I'd have to stop at some point. I felt like I was about to hit a wall. I felt so scared. All the time. I felt like I couldn't do any of the things that I enjoyed on stream anymore. I felt like eventually people would realize that I wasn't that smart and then everyone would leave. And if I wanted to stop before that happened, then I had to set a date that I had to stop streaming. And I'm so glad that I didn't have to do that. And that was never what anyone who, I don't know, stuck around, anyone who mattered, I guess, thought. We love our dumb, smart little robot here.